All righty, heart. Get my little notes. So before the heart becomes the heart, there were two tubes. You know, we had the notochord in the middle, coming up the center with the two halves. I'm going to come from the top down now, or the bottom. So because it's easier. It's easier this way. So I have my front body and my back body, and they do the Virginia reel, and then there's the notochord, the primitive streak. Now we have a middle body. The heart is, and that would be mesoderm. So your front body would be endoderm, which would be your digestive tract, lungs, trachea. Your back body would be, in a nutshell, would be your nerves, your skin, your ectoderm. And then you've got the middle body, which would be mesoderm. And the middle body is heart, blood, kidneys, your gonads, and 1/3 of your vagina. And the other 2/3 of your vagina would be endoderm. So that's an interesting thing that just to put out there for you to go, why did she say that? I don't know, because it was interesting. So before the heart becomes a heart, there's these two tubes. And before there's even tubes, everyone, you guys have paper and pencil nearby? Okay, if you do, play this game with me. How about? Let's play a game. And then just draw on your paper just a bunch of dots. Random. As many as you want. This is the part of the fun. And now take your writing utensil and just start drawing, connect the dots in any order. And just start drawing and connecting the dots. Keep doing it. It's a game. You can't mess it up. There's no order. Just keep connecting the dots. Have fun. I'm rushing. This is me rushing. Keep connecting your dots a little bit longer, and you're going to start to find that some of the pathways are fatter than others, and some of the dots are darker than others because more have gone through them. Is that true? Are we finding that to be true? I'm going to assume it's a yes or no. So when we do this, this is one of the ways that these tubes, because this is what's happening. You've got these little islands, these little blood blisters in your embryo before you have even tubes. And so we need to get this blood going to different places in the body, and these channels now, these, let's call them nadis, or let's just call them little tubes. This one didn't even have one. So there's little pathways that are created organically due to need and structure. And out of these pathways, you see which one, let's just say everything went through this one. This one in my drawing, this was a big one. This is probably where I needed more pumping action. So this is probably where my heart might end up. And then in these pathways, some are going to become more going towards the heart, and some more going towards away from the heart, which is now helping your body before. I mean, your heart was invented in your body out of need, not because it was on schedule. Yeah, it was like, because this was happening, and because this was the main chakra of the heart, or center, where everything came together the most, then by usage alone, this would be where my actual physical heart might end up. Okay, so as we have, and at some point the tubes, there were two lines of tubes here. Eventually this drawing becomes something that looks like this because of the way our embryos are. Our embryos are not a whiteboard or a piece of paper. And then these two spirals, these two lines of tubes with little lines, tubes with little hearts here, eventually spiral together, and then everything at that nexus becomes now your heart, which is kind of cool, I think. So it's about pathways, and we have our heart because of need. Now, the heart was the first organ as it spiraled to become asymmetrical, followed by the digestive tract. And I was reflecting on that this morning and the beauty of asymmetry, because if I think about these two tubes, like where my heart started or how my digestive organ started, that feels very flimsy to me. But as soon as I spiral it, I've crossed a midline. There's some sort of strength in that structure. There's some sort of acknowledgement of this central organizing midline, because now I have things going more in a voluminous way instead of these two little tubes that could fall over at any time. But once, and I don't have anything, I have cords, but once they twist around and spiral, there's more of a, I don't know, I just get a sense of more structure, more oomph, more like stability, less flimsy. That's my embodiment of it. That's my feeling of it. Less flimsy. So in the heart, let me show you a picture. Screen share. So here's the heart cut open. Here's the AV node, and Bonnie calls that the heart body, like the heart gland, even though there really isn't necessarily one. And then here's the SA node, the sinoatrial node, and that would be another thing. This AV node here, here's the aorta, here's the vena cava. So this is the tube of the aorta, the tube of where all the blood's going towards the heart, and the vena cava, the veins, are all the blood that moves away from the heart. Yeah. Got the part, and this one goes toward this pulmonary arteries. They go towards, the pulmonary arteries deal with the lungs. Okay. So anything that goes, an artery by definition is any blood that's going away from the heart. So this pulmonary artery goes away from the heart into the lungs to get new blood. I'll just let you stare at that for a second. So the AV node is the atrioventricular node. It modulates the heartbeat. So it's kind of like the beat keeper. It regulates the relationship between your atria and your ventricles. So the top chambers of the heart and the bottom chambers of the heart. The AV node tells the ventricles to pause in order for them to receive the blood. And I'll draw a picture about that in a minute. So I'm going to go into that in a little bit after I show you this picture. Now the SA node, this the sinoatrial node, is where the vena cava brings blood back to the heart. It's the place of initiation of the heartbeat, and it's the timer, the timing thing that says, okay, muscles contract. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. If I can find where to do that. There we go. Great. So this idea of how the ventricles and the atrium work, I think is beautiful because it speaks to our relationship towards giving and receiving. So we have a heart. I need it. So we have this heart. And we have the right atrium and the left atrium. And then we have the right ventricle and the left ventricle. And so blood, I mean, I could show you the pathway of the blood. I made a little drawing of it. So I thought it might be fun. Let's see if this works even. That way I can hold it up to the thing a little bit more clearly. Huh. So all of the green is oxygen poor, CO2 rich, and the red is oxygen rich, CO2 poor. And you can just ignore this if you want to. We've got the left ventricle and the left atrium, and the right ventricle and the right atrium. So the right side of the heart deals with your carbon dioxide rich blood, and the left part of the heart deals with the oxygenated blood. So basically the blood goes from your left ventricle out into the body, does its thing, body sends it back over here to the right ventricle, to the right atrium, goes into the right ventricle, then goes into the lungs. The lungs take it around here, go into the left atrium, then the left ventricle, then back into the body. So it's kind of this spiralic dance that we have going on in our body all the time. I don't know if that's helpful for you. I had to draw it out for me to really get it. What was important to me about that was the timing. First of all, it's impossible for our little heart to pump all the blood around the body as fast as it does. And so the heart gets this pressure to be this thing that's pumping our blood. But really, there's our vessels actually help with that blood moving. Our muscles and our lymph and our body helps with that blood moving. So it's not the heart's job to move all that blood. It's just the thing that's timing it. You've got your AV node saying pause ventricles so you can receive the blood from the lungs. You can receive the blood from the body. It's saying pause to receive. And then when it's full, the atriums have the blood's gone out, and then that blood can move into the atrium, and then more blood can come in. So it's like this give and take that's happening in the body all the time. There's always giving and always receiving in your body all the time. And if you weren't giving some blood out of that heart, you would reverse the flow, and the stuff that was trying to come into the heart would be made to go in the opposite direction, which would be unhealthy. If there was no pause to receive and everything was contracting at the same time, that wouldn't be a very efficient system and might be actually an unhealthy system. I don't know. I just think the importance of timing, this importance of the pause, how the value of pausing to receive helps the wholeness. Like taking that pause, whether it's a digestive pause, the pause for something to come in allows something to go out, which makes room for something to go in and something to go out. It values both the giving and receiving. And I think that is kind of the mind of the heart for me. Anybody have anything they want to say about that? Let me see if there's anyone raising your hand. Or maybe that's just me geeking out, which is also a possibility. Eileen, did I get it right?
Yeah, I don't think I have anything to add to that.
Okay, good. Just checking. Got a doctor of physical therapy in the house. I'm not afraid to use her. When I first really did that little drawing for myself to figure out this flow, and then how I looked at, because we think of how in charge the heart is of stuff, and it's not in charge of. What it's in charge of is the timing. It's like a warehouse. Product comes in, product goes out. It doesn't have the strength to pump the blood all the way to my feet. But what it does is it times how much blood goes out and how much blood comes in. So if we look at our heart not as driving the bus, perhaps, and putting it in charge of all of the circulation in my body, but realize that there's more little trucks and cars circulating myself to myself. circulating nourishment around my body, that I'm actually moving my blood through this highway of vessels via lymph, via muscle, via tissue in your vessels, all that stuff, by turning upside down, by turning right side up, by moving our bodies, moving our blood. It's not the heart's job. The heart can't possibly do it on its own. But we endow it with this thing that it's the heart. The heart does all this stuff. And it's more of a timing regulator. It's more saying, okay, product in, product out. We're clear to go. We're clear to let go without attachment. Product in, product out. The in and out, the breath in, the breath out. Experience in, experience out. The circulation of that flow, which to me is a lot lighter way of looking at the heart than this muscle that has to work and pump all the time. We talk about it like that, but from a physiological point of view, that's not what's happening. It's just the timing mechanism. I don't know, Mia.
A few years ago, there was that study where they showed that the heart's magnetic field is actually really huge. They thought that it would be the brain, but it ended up being the heart, and that somehow our magnetic fields sync with each other, and it can be from across the room. It seems like is there physiological basis for that? Is that little anode, that AV node thing that does the
ventricular node? Yeah.
That kind of seems to tie in between actually the chakras and the physiological. Can you talk about that?
I think that's an awesome study, which I didn't read or know about. I love it. I want to know more about that. But yeah, it makes perfect sense. And I'm not going to say yes or no to whether there's a physiological connection about the magnetic field of the heart across the room. But why not? If women's menstrual cycles line up, that's kind of blood related. I'm just thinking, why not? And we can feel each other and through our electrical body, feel each other through bigger time and space. Yeah, we already know that, because you can feel someone. I can feel y'all here, and I'm sure you can feel me there. So, and we're not in the same room, in the same physical room, but we're in the same field, even though we're like hundreds of miles away from each other. With Linda, thousands. So, but I don't feel you any less than I feel Mia, who's geographically closer. Linda, I feel, the presence is the same. It's depending more on your presence, not where you are in geography. So why not that exploration, Mia? I think yes. Let's just say yes to that and see what happens if we actually say, yeah, there's an electromagnetic field around my heart, and not only is it energetic, but it's also physical, because there is a timing mechanism, which would be an electrical thing that's happening. There's a physical plane expression of electricity. So that may be the heart, but the electricity goes beyond the physical plane in its expression. Because we don't really see electricity for the most part. Unless it's arcing, and that's a whole different story, but we wouldn't want to see it arcing all the time. That'd be a lot of electricity. Ungrounded, possibly. Cool study. Anyone else? Heart? Okay, so we're bringing in the heart chakra today with this idea of giving and receiving, with the idea of it's being in the air element. We'll talk more about it after practice if we want to. Unconditional love will be a thing. Spaciousness, welcoming, the welcoming energy. So there's going to be this bhavana of welcomeness, of welcoming. And as I've talked about before in this training, and I'm going to repeat it, this idea of being supported underneath. So here's where I alluded yesterday that because of my lower chakras, because of my root, my second chakra, my navel chakra, underneath, because I have a sense of, because I'm not worried about surviving, I can move on and decide and be more picky and choosy about what I like and what I don't like. If I'm just in survival mode, I'm not really going to care what's offered to me. I'm going to take whatever I can get. But once I'm not into survival mode anymore, I'm going to move up to my second chakra and I'm going to say, yeah, I'm surviving and now maybe I can pick and I like this better than this. And so I'm going to be more choosy. And then so I have options and now I'm starting to see, how do I fit into these options? So people are offering me things, but now what do I want? So I'm going to go into my third chakra and start looking at this idea of dominance. I'm going to look, do I need to dominate? Am I being dominated? What's my power? What's my will? What's my determination? Do I feel greater than? Do I feel less than? Is there a hierarchy here? And I'm starting to see my relationship to all these things. So I'm starting to feel the sense of self coming up, the sense of self underneath. And now from there, I have information about myself to bring to this space of my heart. So I know who I am more clearly, so then I can be in my heart more clearly, because air is a very flimsy element. We don't have a lot to measure it by. We don't have a lot to hold our hat on. You're not going to hang your hat on the air. I'm just going to put this Kleenex in the air. Whoops, it doesn't stay there. Why not? Well, because it's flimsy in that way. Spacious, but flimsy. Breathable, but I don't have anything tangible necessarily. So when we look at the heart, come from that place of you've got something beneath the heart, so that when you make those choices, and we talked already about choices from the Buddhi, and we're not even up here yet. This is always, all of them everything's playing at once. But if we don't really know who we are in where we are right now, right here, right now, then it's going to be hard to navigate to what our present moment choice is going to be, because we don't really know where we are. I'm just going to let that sit for a minute. Go get ready for practice. Take about 10. Do you need a break? 10 minutes? Let's take a 10-minute break and then come back and practice. So come back at 5 of 2. I'm going to shut the computer off and I'll log back on. Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Mia, for that electromagnetic field search.